do not know him. He has been a celebrity with our CCon events, and he is a phenomenal author, speaker. How many times have you been a CISO, Erdal?
I think that's now my fourth CISO role.
Okay, yeah, CISO real. So he is a serial CISO, and he has a lot to offer at the chapter. He's been very supportive of the whole community, and we welcome him back to CCon International. So today he's going to talk about what happened in the past this year and what to look forward to in the future as far as cybersecurity. So without further ado, Dr. Erdal, take it away.
And can you make Erdal like the main person on the screen? Right now you have
Oh,
Beth and
yeah,
Erdal.
yeah, yeah. Hold on.
Okay,
There we go.
that works.
Okay.
All right. I'm ready as well. Let me share my screen. I hope I share the right screen. Yes. You see, I hope the right screen. Do you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Perfect. Thank you, Kim, for the introduction. It's always a pleasure for me to be with the Cybersecurity chapter
We see you
on site
now.
or virtually, because I truly believe.
Oh wait,
we can
Erdal, this
all-
is this is not the presentation one. This is the one that you see.
All right. And what do you see? Let me try again. Here we go. Screen 2. Do you see it now?
There we go. Good.
All right.
Perfect.
That's all right. As I was trying to say, it's always a pleasure for me to be part of this community. All right. For the ones that don't know me, right now I work at Morgan State University as CISO. Before that, I was a CISO at a cybersecurity company. Before that, I was a CISO in a global bank. And before that, I was a CISO advisor at Microsoft and cybersecurity architect. Besides that, I'm the president for Global CISO Forum. Anyway, we can talk all day about me. I don't want to do that. I want to talk about what happened this year and what I predict is going to happen next year. Here is a short agenda. For the ones that know me, I usually try to add lots of jokes and humor to my session. And you probably also notice my accent. Promise that's not my fault. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I was born and grew up in Germany. Then I met my wife when I was late 20s. I moved to Australia for 12 years. Then I lived 7 years in Dubai. Last 4 years I'm here in the US, and this is what's coming out. So I'm sorry for the accent. All right. If you're ready, let's start. Cybercrime. When I say cybercrime, you all know it's not what is longer done with hoodies in a basement. Cybercrime, it's a huge corporation. When we look at the data breach report, Verizon's ones or Microsoft ones, we see that the human element, it's still the number one cause of any cyber breaches with 68%. Then, of course, social engineering is supported with exploits. Compared to last year, there is a growth of 180%. And surprise, 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 ransomware was sitting with 24% of all breaches in that list. So why it's important for us to know that? First of all, I know you all are busy. I know you all try to learn something new while you trying to do your work, day-to-day work job. But if you don't know what's happening in the past, you will definitely not be able to protect the future. That's why those reports from Verizon, from Microsoft, from Google Mandiant, from IBM, it's really important. And look, if you ask me, I would all of you recommend to spend at least 10-15 minutes every day on cyber news, what's happening, the TTPs, the attack vectors. But I know most of you are not doing that. But do one thing, read these reports to find out what's happening. And for me to be able to tell you what's happening in the last year, the best resources are, of course, those reports. And that's why I started with those reports. Now, enough about the reports. When I ask you a question, Ken, Are you there? Can you hear me? What is a business?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, what is a business? When I asked you what a business is, I know you have a microphone. That's why I picked on you. You know, I do this in the stage life as well. Like a business is usually an activity to make an economic profit, right? And
Correct.
I'm here not to speak about business. Why do you think I put this slide on?
Because there's no point in doing cybersecurity if there's no businesses.
Which is true, but more importantly, as I said in the beginning, cybercrime is now the greatest business. And threat actors start to, you all know about PASS, you know about IS, you all know about, about the different IT business models. But did you hear about RAS, ransomware service? Now, what is happening is basically the core developers, they get around 20% of the share. The affiliates, in other terms, the sales guys, they keep 80% of profit. And when you look at initial access brokers, it starts from $500. And believe it or not, there is a support team today which supports RAS as service. And let me tell you, RAS as service 3.1 has now AI inbuilt. While most of you still hesitate to use AI, besides the chatbot that you use as ChatGPT or Gemini or Microsoft Copilot, threat actors has already implemented AI to their ransomware. And guess what? I'm pretty sure you attended some sessions with Ken in the law firm or in your global communities. Usually you have someone who does the negotiation as ransomware negotiator, but today you don't speak to real persons anymore. There is a chatbot which is much more strict when it comes to negotiations. So as a result, low barrier to entry, but anyone can be a hacker with a monthly subscription. It's like going to Netflix or whatever streaming platform you have and subscribing into it. There is a monthly subscription fee, affiliate program. There is options to one-time license fee, and at the end there is a pure profit sharing. So that's what I meant with this slide. Cybercrime is now a business, and many organizations or many criminal organizations as well as state-funded threat actors are using this as a weapon. Now let's look quickly at mandate reports. When we look at mandates, I want you to be aware that the dwell time has risen to 11 days, which was just 10 days last year. It means that attackers are moving slower but deeper, which they are focusing more to be persistent. The top initial access, as it was also shared by Verizon Data Breach Report, is now 33%, which is still the #1 entry point. And unfortunately, they still target financial services with business services and high tech as their main attack vectors, and this didn't change in the last few years. When we look at Google mandate report again, we see that 2026 is not going to be different. As I mentioned a few seconds ago, AI is moving away from being a chatbot to an agent. So they started already to use AI for anonymous scan, exploit, and non-stop hacking attempts. Of course, as I again mentioned a few seconds ago, the geopolitics. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea is using the well-sponsored attacking forces to steal some IPs, to steal some secrets from the opposition countries. And when we look at identity crisis, it's not going anywhere. And Google foresees that it's gonna stay there for a while. All right, my next topic. How to prepare for a jail? Ken, what do you think I mean with that? Why do I have a jail slide here, in your opinion?
In my opinion, you have a jail slide here because you're trying to make sure that
No,
that's a great.
no. Of course, the criminal is gonna get to. Now, as a CISO, I have a beautiful office. You see nice views. Do you think I can go to jail for not doing my job? And this is exactly what I mean.
Oh, I got you. Okay, all right.
I wanted to trick you.
Okay.
The compliance tsunami. If you are in US, you all know that Security Exchange Commissions now has some rules that if you do not disclose an incident within 4 days, you can be in trouble. Do you think it's different in US? Then in Europe, when you look at NIS2 and DORA, the personal liability for executive is there or are there. If you don't believe me, you all know what happened to the Uber CISO. Yes, he was not in jail for 8 years, but it was transferred for 200 hours community. He had to do community work. Or you all know the Sullivan's attack, right? If you ever joined my sessions here at ICQS chapter, you already know that I mentioned in details. Please go and watch my previous sessions. But the CISO for Sullivan's was also in trouble for not doing his job probably. So back to the reports. When we look at the reports that the average cost for cybersecurity went up from 3 point something million to 4.88 million. And the average cyber breach cost in healthcare went up to close to $11 million. Now, the human element is there, the ransomware element is there, and now the tsunami for compliance is there. What do we need to really do? Before I go ahead, I want you to quickly look at the Microsoft Digital Defense Report. Based on 4,000 attacks, based on 4,000 plus identity attacks, they claim that those attacks could be 99% of those attacks could be minimized if you had an MFA. Cloud storage is also now on demand, and there is 78% increase on those attacks. And if you remember last year, this year actually, we are still in 2025, AWS, Cloudflare, I know they are not cloud storage, but they had some serious issues which affected all of us. Or again, if you remember, there were many blob storages, many cloud storage incidents which was on the news. And one other thing that Microsoft is saying is there is a BEC, the business email compromise. And apparently there is close to 160,000 attempts daily, where is mainly driven by AI. Now, putting all this together, what are the top 5 attack vectors that you need to be aware? Honesty? No rocket science here. It didn't change in the last few years. Stolen credentials are still #1 attack vectors. You don't have to hack in. All what you have to do, log in. When I tell you this, if I ask you now, excuse me, who's reusing the passwords? Probably none of you are going to say yes. Who's not using MFA? Probably none of you are going to say yes. But when we look at the reality, honestly, the initial access vectors based on the Verizon data breach report is still credentials. 36% of reused credentials are causing most of the cyber attacks. Of course, phishing is there, but if you remember, in 2014, phishing was 95% of the main initial access vector attack, where it went down to 30%. There is still exploits and vulnerabilities there, but what I want you to be aware of, please, where possible, at least personally, use MFA or any of your public-facing services should have MFA enabled. Otherwise, you're going to be one of those victims next year. If not, Snowflake. They had an incident. Snowflake, when I say Snowflake, probably you will know it, but I'm pretty sure some of you bought tickets from Ticketmaster, from Centenda, from Leading Tree. And you know how they've been hacked? Through an info stealer, which was Lumia, which infected a sales manager's personal laptop in a domain environment. And guess what? The employee didn't have MFA. As a result, Snowflake was on the news. What about your DNA? DNA? Dr. Ozkaya, what are you talking about? 23andMe is a DNA service company. You know, they look at DNAs, and guess what? They've been hacked. You know how? Not through direct attack, but again, through password spray attacks, which was used unfortunately with stolen passwords. So whatever you do, don't forget, you are responsible for users' pure hygiene. Remember SolarWinds? SolarWinds, they had one of the biggest supply chain attacks in the history, and even FireEye was hacked through them. And if you don't believe me, please use your favorite search engine, and you will see that the default SolarWinds password, which lead the attack, was SolarWinds 123. And then the CEO blamed an intern for using this password. All right, look, I am a CISO, and I am empowered by the CEO to increase the cybersecurity posture of my organization. But if I don't have the ability to enforce MFA, to block passwords such as SolarWinds 123, what can I do? All right, another question. Ken, you again, sorry.
No
What
worries.
can you buy for $100?
Not much.
Not much. What if I sell you malware which is not used and it's clear, like Vida, Luma? It's sold just for $100 in dark web. And what this malware can do, it can grab a session cookie, and even though you have MFA, it can also bypass MFA. So just a few minutes ago, I was just talking about using MFA, but today, unfortunately, MFAs are by itself not enough. You should use FIDO keys. You should use, if you're using Windows Hello, or you should use, some passwordless authentication to improve your security. And that's unfortunately the only way to block access from unmanaged personal devices in sensitive roles. Vector 2, phishing and social engineering. For the ones they know, I have a book about it, and I'm pretty sure you all know how I've been pound. Troy Hunt wrote the forward for it, but don't worry about it. What is social engineering? Basically hacking the human. And you all read about the MGM data breach, which happened last year, which costed more than $100 million. And if you ever went to Vegas, you know that every second hotel is an MGM resort. Guess how they've been hacked? Through phishing. The hackers cloned the CEO's voice, called the IT help desk, impersonate being that employee. As a result, millions of dollars was stolen, was not stolen, was caused as an incident, And we're talking about a huge hotel result. What does hotel means? It means your credit card numbers. It means your IDs. It means your addresses. It means your signatures. It means basically everything secret about you has been also stolen. How did this happen? Here's the TTP. Basically, the attack moved from a human layer to an identity layer. And they were using Okta. Talking about Okta, if you remember my keynote last year at CCon in June at King University, I was speaking about how Okta was hacked in deep dive. Today, Okta was not the direct target, but Okta couldn't stop this because the human layer bypassed the technology. So you can, I'm not going to go deep dive on the TTPs, but the slide's going to be here, and you can just read later about it. You can go Mitra Attack Framework and learn about this later. Another case study, Midnight Blizzard. This time, this attack was supported by an ATP, by a Russian intelligence. They used password spraying on a legacy non-production test tenant, which, guess what, didn't have an MFA. The pivot was they used permission to access corporate email accounts of Microsoft senior leadership. So hold on. As an ex-Microsoft employee and current MVP for security, I know Microsoft is spending $5 billion per year on cybersecurity. And still, they can be a victim of a cyber attack. Why? Legacy environments are still the ticking time bombs. And it's easy to say, hey, don't use Windows XP. Don't use Server 2003. Upgrade to the latest and greatest. But the reality is different. And unfortunately, organizations like that still, which is any organization which is older than 20 years, I truly believe has still a lot legacy applications, legacy environment, which is causing danger and causing sometimes senior leaderships to get affected. Now, number 2 is phishing and social engineering. DoorDash. Who never ordered food from DoorDash? You might be overseas, but I know DoorDash is now nearly in every country. If not, they have a similar service. Basically, you go to the app, you order your food, and the food is delivered to your house. The incident, employee tricked into delivering credentials via smishing, SMS phishing attack, and the advisory in the middle basically passed the proxy in the real MFA request and hacked DoorDash. As a result, they were in trouble. What has been used? The TTP was phishing. Basically, voice phishing attack. They called the help desk, remember? Similar to MGM. Help desk didn't verify the caller. They basically were too nice, and they used the voice as a proof, or not a proof, which caused that issue. Basically, the defense is simple. There is no exceptions. No matter who calls, they should follow the procedures. I might be calling Ken as his boss. Hey, Ken, I want you to change my password. You know me, and I might even open, my webcam. But this could be a deepfake. How hard is to use the technology that has been implemented? The technology could stop the attack vector in this case. Another example, modern phishing. Basically, they use different tools, technical TTPs like Advisor in the middle, like Evil Gen X2, or they sometimes bombard the user with fake MFA requests, which they hope someone is going to click accept. Or I'm pretty sure you attempt conferences where you see some QR codes where you want to just basically scan for the free wireless. Excuse me. All what you have to do is, again, use either FIDO keys or MFA or Windows Hello. Where possible, implement conditional access. Where possible, improve the cybersecurity awareness. Otherwise, you are going to be victim. I have a few more minutes before I go to Vector 3. Please, if you have any questions, do not forget to type in. I'm going to look into those later. Now, supply chain. When we talk about supply chain, I mean, looking at my office right now, made in Turkey, made in China, assembled in the US, my Yeti cup, probably made in China. So everything's through supply chain. You all remember the Colonial Pipeline attack. You all remember the Colombian University cyber attack. supply chain attack. So while everything is shipped via supply chain, today when we look at what we use, unfortunately, many things is out of our control, and we do work with vendors. Now, talking about IT, who's not a third party? The Windows operating system or the Apple operating system that you use is a third party. The antivirus is a third party. The contractor comes, your company is a third party. So, what I'm trying to talk is about software dependencies and third-party access points. If you do not have a TPRM, third-party risk assessment, TPRS, then or team, then you're doing something wrong. Here's another example: the Change Hill Healthcare breach. They were a victim of a ransomware attack through Citrix Patrol that blocked MFA. As an impact, nearly 50% of the US medical claims put on hold, and the estimated cost was $872 million per quarter. Now, I'm talking about per quarter. Times 4 is 9 times 4. It's, you do the math. Another example, XD utilities. Here's the code for you. There was a CVE. Guess what? The CVE was not patched. As a result, they had an issue. Lesson learned here: open source is not inherently secure. Yes, neither closed source. We gave the Microsoft example, we gave the Google example, we gave the AWS example, or open source is there. So what do we need to do? Basically, we need to learn how hackers use supply chain attacks. And here's the TTP repo jacking for you. What happened is they took over maintained packages or using typo scripting to trick developers into stealing malicious libraries. Their SBOM, basically they looked at the code, there were some vulnerabilities. The defense, zero trust. Again, a few minutes ago, I was also talking about, hey, if you're an organization which is 20 years plus old, then most probably you are a dinosaur and you have some applications that's, for example, not ready for zero trust. This shouldn't be your excuse. You always have the opportunity to create a greenfield environment and put your most valuable assets. This is my office here. Probably you don't see it, but my books are there, my awards are there, but I have a safe here and that safe has usually all the critical assets that I don't want to be lying on my desk. Yes, right now my notes are on my desk. Some applications, some reports printed out are on my desk, but every day before I leave or when I go for lunch, I ensure that I put this into a safe. Even though I am in a locked environment, I have my own personal office and the DIQ office is locked with a security guard as well. I ensure that my most valuable assets are kept away from my non-valuable assets, because I know if I keep them together, soon I'm gonna have less valuable assets because they can be easily lost or stolen. This is again some TTPs for you. Later you can read them yourself. The lesson learned for you here is, please don't forget, 0 days, they're expensive. But with help of AI, today it's easier to find 0 days in software. And as a result, you can be easier victim in your organization. So what you need to do is, of course, for example, use the same AI to ensure that you have continuous scan. Where possible, you have to implement not where possible. You definitely need to implement defense in depth. Where possible, you have to implement zero trust. I still hear a lot that many organizations, they say, hey, you know what? I have antivirus, I have firewall, I have this. Yes, they are important, but don't forget, if you don't have network visibility, and if you don't use products like Neox networks, for example, then you are in trouble. Anyway, attack vector 4 based on 2025 was exploit vulnerabilities. Usually, you all know the term Patch Tuesday. What does it mean for me? It means Vulnerability Wednesday. Every time there is a patch, it means there is also a risk to get hacked. Let me take the time back to 2016-17. Do you remember the first WannaCry attack? Back then, you can see it's still in my LinkedIn. I wrote a paper, a research paper, and I said, unfortunately, the day is going to come where we have to pay for vulnerabilities. Many people, more than 1,000 comments, they slammed me. Paying means you're going to support criminal organizations. I know today, many government organizations do pay for ransom, including the three-letter agents. Unfortunately, I have been in many cases. Or back to WannaCry example. Do you remember Eternal Blue, which was a vulnerability which was first used by NSA, then Microsoft found out and they released a patch. Guess when the first attack happened of WannaCry? Ken, was it 2 days? 2 weeks? Or 2 months later?
Oh, when the first with WannaCry?
Yeah, it was 2 months later, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had 2 months to go and download this patch and improve your security. But then, back then I was working for Microsoft and they're like, hey, Microsoft, it's your fault. I'm like, hey, there was a patch. It wasn't really a 0 day. It was a vulnerability exploit Wednesday, not a patch Tuesday. So you didn't patch your environment for 2 months and you were expecting not to be a victim. Back to 2025, Shadow Door. The problem was a firewall VPN API, and the reality was that 40% of the web traffic was API call, and less than 10% were actively monitored. As a result, they were hacked. Iwanti, VPN. We usually use VPN to encrypt our traffic, but there is a flow which was authenticate bypass, command injection, and used together, they give an unauthenticated RCE. The scale was thousands of organizations hacked globally through a Chinese state actor, and reality check was edge devices are block boxes you can't monitor easily. I'm fully aware of that, but when you use any software, and we use many software, and if you, as a security professional, anything that you look at, you should think about, you should know that it can be hacked. And where possible, you should think of how you can defend it. Assume, any software, like have that assume breach mentality. I've been taught this when I was in a senior leadership role in a bank. They said, any message you type, assume tomorrow it's going to be in Washington Post as a headline. So anything in writing, any email, any WhatsApp message, anything that you write you are responsible for it and will affect your organization. So get this mentality and put this into, if you don't believe me, look at Twitter. Many people were fired for tweeting their company, something about companies, or sometimes they go ahead and they do some political comments. In some countries, they get arrested or they get fired. So if this is the reality in politics, then you should also be aware of the reality of cybersecurity. The defense is you need to create segmentation, and you have to ensure that anything that you use, you should have an incident response plan, and you should do incident response activities. Again, if you lucky member of this beautiful chapter, the IC Secure chapter had many online and on-site tabletop exercises on ransomware, on incident response. Please join at least one of those. The team did great sessions in the past, and I'm pretty sure they're going to do many great sessions upcoming future. I have four last minutes, and I want to talk about the latest attack vector 5, AI risk, and shadow AI. When I talk about shadow AI, what is shadow AI? When I ask a question, and I can see the camera here, who can you raise your hand? I can see May, Art, and some other people. Who's using AI? Like ChatGPT, Gemini, we all, right? Do you use it in your work computer? Hands up again, please. Rabu, yes?
Yeah.
Now, is it authorized to be used? You don't have to raise your hand. Oh, some of you do say yes, some of you do say no. Same here. I use AI, and we do have now an AI policy, because when I've been assigned as a CISO, that was the first thing I did. But how do you control AI in a chatbot? It's much harder than we think, right? But you know what happened with deepfake? They lost $25 million with a deepfake attack. The target was basically an engineering firm in Hong Kong. The tactic was simple, that you all know. Employee received an email from a CFO, and it was suspicious, but he trusted, or she trusted, the CFO, and as a result, $25 million was gone. Another one, Microsoft Recall. Remember, they had a beautiful chatbot which they used then, or the latest Windows recall feature as well. Not chatbot. Chatbot was another. Remember, I was talking about that Twitter chatbot they released to the wild, and then hackers trained them bad, and that chatbot it started to give some political responses, started to swear, and Microsoft called it back. But no, this is Microsoft Recall, the new Windows feature, which was recording basically everything, and you could just go back and reuse it. An AI feature that took screenshots of every few seconds and created a memograph history. And of course, what happened is any malware could basically get into these files and break the privacy. And as a result, Microsoft had to call it back. So there is many other tactics used by hackers. My recommendation to you is, please try to create cyber awareness session to increase the security in your organizations, because AI is going to be more part of our lives. You like it or not. Assisted AI, like Copilot, like Gemini, like you name it, will be used by hackers in 2026, and you're going to see that more and more cybersecurity incidents will be related based on AI. Again, one of the first defense mechanism was usually encryption, but we know that quantum computing is getting closer and closer, which means you already need to think to create quantum-ready encryption keys, which means we need to have more time. But looking at our work schedule, we are overburned already. You have less people. You already saw that AI is replacing some jobs. You don't have enough budget. My prediction is that we're gonna have more human issues, social engineering, or skills shortage, which is gonna cause some trouble. And again, for when we look at 2026, you should have a morning checklist. You should do auditing. You should do scan. You should do recovery. You should have a strategic shift when it comes to resilience, which is going to improve your security. Now, before I go, one more thing that you need to know. You have to also learn speaking the boardroom language. Talking about SQL injections, talking EDR tools, talking about patch rates is important, but not using the business language. is a fatal mistake that you will do. Instead of, you notice my English is not perfect, right? And I'm trying to use better English every single day, even though for the last 30 years I live now in English-speaking countries, but still the accent is there, it's not going anywhere. But I need to try to improve myself because I'm in front of you nearly every second week. Last week I was in Turkey delivering a cybercrime session to NATO. Before that I was in Azerbaijan. Before that I was, in many, many different countries. You need to learn to speak the boardroom language. And here are some examples. You can read this later out, okay? Please, please, please. It's like when you talk to a child, we all use different language. Or when you talk to an animal, we try to, change our voice. And
Give me a minute. I'll call you back in a minute. Okay. Bye.
And Ken, that's my last slide anyway. Please, please,
All right.
please.
Thanks.
Please translate technical risk into revenue risk. With this, I came to my last slide. I hope you enjoyed the session. This is my contact details. Feel free to be in touch. You can watch my perfect English videos on YouTube. You can connect at Instagram. You can go to my blog, LinkedIn, and so on. I hope you enjoyed the session. If you enjoyed the session, my name is Dr. Ozkaya. And if you didn't enjoy the session, my name is Ken Fishkin. Thank you very much.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you very much, Erdal, as always. Very entertaining and insightful as well. So love having you on as a keynote. So we are going to the next sessions now, breakout sessions. So Brian, I'm going to let you take over and explain what new way we are doing things, so that way people know exactly where to go. So Brian, are you on?
Hey, Ken. Yep. Hey, everyone. All right. So we had to make some changes on the fly. So there's some breakout rooms. It's going to start 3, 4, and 5. If you follow the agenda, it's going to be updated for what speakers are speaking in those rooms and the topics. So feel free to pull that up now. We're going to drop the link in the chat as well so that you can look at the agenda and head to your breakout rooms. This room is still going to be the room 1. So speakers who are presenting in this room can stay, aligned to the schedule. All right. So give me 1 second. I just want to put the link in the chat for everyone. And Ken, we're bringing in the new speaker now, right? For room 1. I think he's there. All right, let me just. All right. So for room 1, it looks like